Well, welcome to this week's edition of the Weather Hangout, whether you're joining us on WTOL Plus or YouTube. We appreciate you for joining us for this week, and it is a summer-filled week so far. And of course, we have meteorologist Diane Phillips and the meteorologist John Burchfield.
Thanks, good to be back. I missed 1 week and you forget my last name now. It's all good, though. Hope you all had a good Memorial Day, the unofficial start of summer. Mother Nature was right on cue this week.
Yes.
You know, after Memorial Day, we got some 90-degree weather, and now here we are talking about a prolonged heat wave and also potential drought conditions. Not really much rain in the forecast either.
Yeah, not at all. And have y'all been able to get out the pools yet by chance?
I haven't made it to a local pool yet.
No, that sounds real tempting, though.
Yeah, okay, have you guys turned the air conditioning on, I assume?
I did that back in like the beginning of May.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to hold out, but see, I'm the warm weather fan of the group, so I'm trying to hold out, but I bet I turn it on.
Because the nights are still cool and crisp, but then during the afternoons it gets toasty with those 90-degree temperatures. So it's give and take, maybe turn it off at night, letting some fresh air, and then turn it on during the day.
That's a good idea. That might get me through the week, and then, you know, when the 80s are back, it's more comfortable. I can just, you know, the windows and get by.
Yeah,
nothing like some fresh air. It's been nice to get out and about. A lot of people, even with the heat, they've been enjoying it. It's been a little bit, though, lower humidity, so it's not so when you go outside.
Not too muggy yet. Yep, and we're recording this on the final day of May, and we're welcoming you into the month of June. Maybe you're watching this on June 1st or on Friday, June 2nd, and we're going to be looking ahead to what the month of June has in store and also recapping the month of May. What else we got planned for this week? Yeah,
so of course, with those schools closing, that means pools are opening. So yeah, we'll be kind of talking about some water safety, not only in pools, but also in ponds, lake, of course, with Toledo pretty much surrounded by water. We'll be kind of talking about that water safety coming up.
Yeah, certainly a fun thing to do as the summer season cranks up, whether it's boating, swimming, going to the pool, lake. Folks like to go in the water here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. So good tips there, and stay tuned for that, Matt.
Yeah, and of course the views have been great as far as, you know, enjoying the water and being, you know, so nice out there on Lake Erie. So excited to see that. But we also have, you know, a tradition of the Weather Hangout, some videos to share. So our first one is going to be a little bit dramatic. You can see this drone footage has captured smoke and ash billowing from Mexico's mighty volcano. With authorities, they're on alert for any changes in the activity. So this is back on Friday. Authorities confirmed that no more lava domes have been detected inside the crater, but you can just see that smoke billowing there. Definitely a sight to see, and glad the drone is close and we aren't that close.
Yeah, that would be a little scary. Also, we got another video of crowds gathered on the streets of Manhattan on Monday. Manhattanhenge. We talked about this in a former edition of the Weather Hangout, where the sun shines right through those buildings that are parallel to each other. This is a popular phenomenon. It occurs twice per year on 2 consecutive days when the sun is in alignment with the city's street grid. The urban planning of the city really lines nicely with the sun there, and everyone sort of sits right where their gap in between the buildings is. And it's named after Stonehenge, of course, which is thousands of years old. And even with the modern architecture, you get a similar phenomenon right there in the Big Apple.
Yeah, I think that's definitely on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, that is so cool. You got another chance coming later this year.
Oh yeah, got one more chance. But yeah, our last video right now, look at this, still those wildfires out there, raging wildfires swept the forests of surrounding areas in Nova Scotia as Canadian wildfires continue to burn across the area. So this, of course, still dealing with those Canadian wildfires out there. Just the update from this week, even where you still see those smoking conditions. Of course, those helicopters trying to battle those fires.
Yeah, and we had, you know, the smoke that a lot of folks were sharing on the WTOL 11 weather app. They were really kind of getting those sunset and sunrise photos to where we just had that vivid red. So though, of course, you know, devastating there, kind of to balance it out, at least we are able to see, you know, like we just had a couple weeks ago, some of those nice sunsets.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that smoke from all the way out in Canada can drift along the jet stream and make its way to Ohio and Michigan.
Wow.
So always keeping an eye on global weather and what's going on, because it affects all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've got more coming up, recapping the month of May, looking ahead to the month of June. But between now and then, we will quiz you with this weather fun fact. There you have it. Meteorological summer starts on Thursday, June 1st. And the reason for that is we chunk the seasons into nice 3-month blocks. And that makes it a lot easier to keep records and go back on the historical data when everything's grouped into 3 months, as is spring and summer in all the 4 seasons. So let's recap the month of May and also look ahead to the month of June. It's hard to believe that our high temperature on the first day of May was only 49 degrees. What a difference this month makes. And May is a month of changes because by the end of May, you're feeling that 90-degree heat, a taste of summer, as we welcome in the start of meteorological summer tomorrow. The hottest temperature during the month of May was 91 degrees, and we have more low 90s in the forecast. What was our coldest temperature of the month of May? Well, you may have heard us talk about frost and freeze on WTOL 11 throughout the month. We recorded a 36-degree temperature at Toledo Express Airport, and some of you in your backyard thermometers may have even gotten a little bit below this. So May is certainly a month of change, but June is a month that really feels a lot more like summer. Now, rainfall was hard to come by this month. The most we got on a single day was on the 19th of May, and that was only 0.3 of an inch of rainfall on that one day. We have a stretch of dry weather going, and our current streak of days, it is adding up, and we are at 10 days without any rainfall, not a drop of measurable rain. And where does that rank on the list of all-time dry stretches? Well, in 1988, we got 19 days without any rainfall. In 1903, 18 days, and a couple other years featured longer stretches of dry weather, but we're not in the clear just yet. In fact, the weather forecast looking awfully dry. This is the driest May since the Dust Bowl era. Looking at the entire month, you have to go all the way back almost a century. And those of you history buffs out there may remember 1934, an anomalously dry year across much of the country's midsection due to the Dust Bowl. So what about rainfall over the course of the month? 9/10. That is all we could muster up this month. Less than 1 inch of rainfall. Normally, May is the wettest month of the calendar year. This year did not quite deliver on that rainfall. We're at 10 consecutive dry days and counting, and the longest stretch of ever dry days in Toledo, looking at any month, was back in 1908. We had a 34-day stretch without any rainfall. The graphic I showed earlier, that was just looking at 1 month. This stretch lasted several months from August 24th all the way through September, the end of September, mind you, over a month without a drop of rainfall. Looking ahead towards our Memorial Day heat, we recorded some 90-degree temperatures later on this week, but of course our Memorial Day this year, temperatures were in the mid-80s, and we didn't quite set any records as far as our Memorial Day heat goes. You may remember 2018, that featured a 98-degree temperature reading. So of course, this Memorial Day that we got 84 degrees, that was just the kickstart to this hot stretch of weather. So certainly May is ending on a hot note, but what about the start of the month of June? We've got meteorologist Diane Phillips breaking down what you can expect as we usher in a new month. Hey Diane, tomorrow the first day of meteorological summer too. Yes,
definitely excited to see it though. It's come fast, and hopefully June, I know you and I both are hoping for a little bit of rain, right?
We certainly do need it, especially gardeners and farmers. It's hard to come by rain, and we need a little bit.
Yes, and I know a lot of us are really hoping, crossing fingers and toes for some rain. So, okay, what does June typically have in store for us? Well, actually the month of June here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, that's our peak severe weather month. So as we look, you're going to find that that severe weather risk continues to climb. Though we have that possibility at any point in the season, we really kind of see it reach that highest point here for the month of June. And that, though, it does mean that we are going to see increased chances for squall lines or wind damage. That squall line is where that thunderstorm is pushing. It's at a fast speed, and it has those damaging winds that it brings with it. So that's why we really start to keep an eye, of course, all the time for severe weather. But that's just when we see here in the month of June kind of the peak for our strong storm season. Now, like we had mentioned, it's also the beginning of meteorological summer. It's a little bit easier to calculate that data when you don't have that date fluctuating when we look at astronomical seasons. So today, tomorrow, that is the first day of summer. I'm trying to rush time here, but we're going to hold on to it all the way to August 31st. And this is when, of course, we typically see our warmest temperatures. Our average around 86 degrees is where we peak, and that typically comes in the month of July. So here in June, we haven't seen all the heat, but we will continue to see more heat building in. Also, as we go through the summer season, it's the latest sunsets that we have of the year. 9 o'clock, 9:01, 9:02. So if you're a little bit, or if you're up a little bit later, you're going to notice that daylight really extending out for us as we go here into the next couple of months. But the third thing that you need to know as we go into the month of June is that those average highs, they surpass 80 degrees. So 80 should be the new normal when we look at our 10-day forecast. The average high for June 1st tomorrow, right around 79 degrees. But as we go towards the end of the month, 86 is where we should be. So we should be getting pretty close to that peak heat as we get close to the beginnings of July. Of course, there's a lot of heat already in our forecast with 90s. And even as the month of June comes around, we're going to continue to potentially have some 90s in the forecast. Of course, with summer beginning, that means more heat on the way, and hopefully, though, some rainfall as well. Of course, when we have those severe storms, that potential in the forecast, make sure you have the WTOL 11 weather app ready to go as we are going to be entering that peak season here for Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. But we still have more weather hangout to go. I know a lot of us are going to be cooling out by the pool, so Matt Willoughby is going to be joining us after this quick fun fact.
Well, Toledo City pools are officially back open for the summer, and this year the city is offering swimming lessons to keep everyone safe this summer. It will break everything you need to know, or at least I'll break everything you need to know coming up in just right now. Check it out. With temperatures soaring into the 90s this week, registration for swimming lessons comes at the perfect time for young swimmers to learn the way of the water.
I have to imagine with this great weather we're having that people will be thinking about the pools, and hopefully when they go to our website, they'll see that swim lessons are available this summer.
Swim lessons kick off in July, but if you're worrying about your kid being too young to learn, there is good news.
It's a pretty wide range. We start at 3 years old and go all the way up to 15. The actual day of the swim lessons, the kids get divided into smaller age groups, and that way the lifeguards can work with kids of similar ages with various skills.
Swimmers will learn all types of different techniques, from the basics to even advanced swimming techniques.
A lot of it is just getting familiar with the water, not being afraid of the water. And then that progresses all the way through learning how to scoop with your hands and pull yourself through the water, being comfortable with your face being in the water. So a lot of it is familiarity, and then it progresses all the way through to actual swimming.
With drowning being the leading cause of death for children, it is very key that kids learn how to swim just in case they are in dire situations where they need to swim to survive.
We live in a town that's built around water, so it's not just about the pools, but we have creeks and rivers throughout our city. And by chance, if someone would fall into that water, it's really important that they understand how to get themselves back out and not panic. So that familiarity with water is really important, so that in the event of an accident, the child doesn't panic and they can get themselves out.
Registration must be done online. Reporting in Toledo, I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby for WTOL 11.
That's like bath water there. Our lake, yeah, 80-degree waters. Our Lake Erie temperature right now is still in the lower 60s. So even though the weather and the thermometer temperature might be warm, it's a little bit misleading because if you go to the lake, you're going to find the waters are still a little bit chilly.
Yeah, I was looking at those Lake and Shore Island cams this past weekend. There was actually people in the water.
Oh,
so
brave.
Not gonna be me.
That's not you, man.
Yeah, I just need water to be a lot warmer than.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart, but we will warm things up as summer progresses, and of course those pools nice and toasty, and those 90-degree temperatures make swimming a lot more fun.
Yeah, even the ponds, you know, they don't have so much water to warm up. So maybe ponds, pools, if they have a heater, maybe you could find me there this week. But it's 90s. I think we could all go for a swim.
Yep, certainly it feels like summer outside, and we're welcoming you in with this week's edition to the summer season.
Yes, definitely excited for more that we have to offer in the summer season and also on the Weather Hangout. So don't forget that you can catch this episode and previous episodes on WTOL 11 Plus and also on the WTOL 11 YouTube page. Until next time, take care.